Okay, so this is a little bit different than what you're used to seeing from me. I'm in Angie's car today because Angie, she had a little hiccup. This thing's brand new, and it's already starting to act up, basically. So I'm taking her car to the dealership, and something popped up on the carnivore group. There's this gentleman in the carnivore group, and he always posts stuff that's just really ridiculous. And one of the things that he posted was about how this is a young dude that's in the military, 22 years old, thinks with his pecker, not his head, that kind of guy. And when I was back in the military at 22 years old, I wasn't worried about, being an idiot, trashing people, and trying to sleep with as many women as possible. I was worried about doing my job. I was worried about, being the best at physical fitness and training and stuff like that. I was proud of what I was doing. This guy had left some kind of comment, and it's in a group where anything is allowed. You can say whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, as long as you're not uh, disrespecting people and attacking people. In this group, anything that you want to say goes, as long as you're not of imminent threat to anybody. This guy says something along the lines of, hey, I wish every woman was naked so when I'm on my run, I can enjoy the visual, the scenery, but we would probably never get anything done, implying that if every woman was naked, they would probably want to sleep with him. But I'm sure that women feel the same way about men. And 99.9% of the people that responded to this guy's posting said, no, something's wrong with you, dude. We're not interested in seeing everybody naked. That would be very bad, very scary, and it's not like everybody wants to sleep with you anyway. There's nothing that's that special about you that would make you want to think that. Well, as in the comment section, I had to let this guy know that, man, the stuff that you're posting lately is getting really outlandish. I mean, it's not even of nutrition or any kind of substance. It's just you spewing junk out of your mouth, and it's really dumb shit. And I just kind of came straight to the guy and told him that the stuff that you're talking about is that of a teenager and not of an adult that would offer some kind of substance in conversation. And he'd made a comment to another lady I seen right after mine that he thinks 16-year-olds should be able to sexually consent. That sent me all over the edge. What does a grown man that's starting to get their life together want with a 16-year-old sexually? Since when do we, at 16 years old, know what we're doing with anything in life? A 16-year-old barely knows how to shave their legs at that point, let alone be in a relationship, possibly get pregnant, take care of a child, all the bad things, the scenarios that you can conjure up and think of. They wouldn't even know how to deal with stuff like that. And this guy had proceeded to say, with smiley faces and everything else, as it's a joke, that, the 16-year-olds should be able to make those choices and we shouldn't have anything to say about it. Well, I'll tell you right now, if I had a 16-year-old daughter and there was a grown man that decided to manipulate her brain to the point where she slept with him, I would shoot a fucking guy for doing that. And excuse my language. I would shoot somebody for messing with my daughter at 16 years old and you being a grown man. Now, let me retract a little bit here. 16-year-olds are going to do stuff like that. You cannot stop them from doing it, other than educate them as parents and raise them correctly to know what's right and what's wrong, what would destroy their life, what would put a hamper on their life at such a young age. A 16-year-old could accidentally get pregnant from messing with somebody. Now, if it was a 17-year-old that slept with her, or an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old, I could see that there's something there that, they're young, they're stupid, they make choices like that. But once you start getting 20 and 21 years old and you make the choice to sleep with somebody younger than you, you have got problems. And if that was my child, I would make sure that you knew for the rest of your life that that problem that you decided to have was the wrong problem. And I would really fuck you up for that. If not, you would lose your life. I mean, I'm being serious. There are some people that take it to the extreme of when you mess with my child or my daughter in that manner as an adult, you've got problems. Now, let me explain this a little bit more, and I don't want you to think I'm a person that's going to go out and attack somebody or whatever because of this. This makes me sick to my stomach. In the military, I dealt with people like this. There were times at night where I would have to be put on guard duty, 24-hour battalion watch or something like that. You got your job during the day, and then you have to be put on duty overnight to make sure everything's okay. And sometimes you would change with other sergeants and other soldiers and stuff like that. And we would stay up, answer phone calls, make sure everything was okay in our battalion footprint where the soldiers would sleep, and we would just kind of stay up as security overnight. And different people would take different turns. Now, I found out there was a sergeant that was still staying in the barracks that was sleeping with a 16-year-old girl, and I hadn't been able to catch him yet. Well, I went up to his room and I caught him one night with a 16-year-old girl. I drug his ass out of there, took him down to the battalion, called the MPs. The MPs came and arrested him, and we found out this grown man, 25 years old, was sleeping with a 16-year-old girl, and his whole objective was to try to sleep with as many young girls as possible. He even went and bought a van to travel back and forth to go pick these girls and stuff up in at times, and he got 3 of them pregnant, and he was working on the 4th one. I called her parents to come get her, and the guy got arrested and taken to jail, and the MPs dealt with him, and he got discharged out of the military. When you're a grown man wanting to have sexual relations with a 16-year-old woman, you have got problems. There's no way, there's no shape, there's no form that you should be doing stuff like that. What have you got in common with that person other than a quick, easy piece of ass? That's what you want. And they're infatuated with you because you're an adult. Excuse me. If you can't attract a woman of like mindset, like goals, like ambitions, if you can't do the work to court a woman and get to the point where she wants to sleep with you, regardless if it's marriage or not, you have got problems. A 16-year-old hasn't even begun to understand what's going on in life yet, let alone the mistake of possibly getting pregnant or what that could change in her life by getting pregnant. But this gentleman thought that it would be awesome for him to make childish comments about he thinks a 16-year-old should be able to consent. But little did he know, on either most military bases or all military bases, if you Google what is the age of consent on a military base, it's 16 years old. Most states now have changed it to either 16 or 17, or I should say some states, 16 or 17 years old, they can consent now. That is disgusting. A boy or a girl, and I emphasize boy or girl, that age, does not even know what the hell they're doing yet. All they know is it's fun, and that's it. Beyond that, they don't know any more than that. And when you've become an adult and you want to stoop to the level of manipulating somebody to the point where you're getting in their brain and messing with them to that extent, you've got problems, and you probably should be put in jail for that. And if it was my kid, I would hurt you. I can guarantee that. Now, the sick factor here is, a few years ago, maybe a little bit more than a few years ago, the pedophilia group created this symbol to basically represent themselves. It's a blue box with the Omega symbol. And so it's a blue box with the Omega symbol in it. And then it's got like little lines that are branched off the Omega symbol. And that's some kind of symbol that they've created to signify the pedophilia group. They were posting stuff on the internet. It was popping up on Facebook that they want to be accepted just like anybody else is. And they should be respected because they cannot help the fact that they feel attracted to younger children. And it's something that's inside them. Just like a boy feels like he should really be a girl, or a girl really feels like she should be a boy, and they go through their sex changes and stuff like that. That's basically how they were getting to the point where they were referencing they feel like they should be accepted in the community just like anybody else without being judged for that. And they were wanting the consent to be lowered to 13 years old. There was like all kinds of ages being thrown around. At 13 years old, you're becoming a teenager. You should be able to make those choices for yourself. This is disgusting. We went from 21 years old being, the recommendation for a lot of stuff. You can't buy cigarettes and alcohol, down to 18 you can consent, and 17 you can consent. Now 16 you can consent. It seems like as time passes, we're doing the very thing that society talks against, but yet make exceptions for, because we're becoming this like left-leaning, Democratic-driven, I want everything for free, everything needs to be accepted, nobody's feeling needs to be heard, everybody needs a damn trophy, everybody's feelings need to be stroked, and you need to have consideration for every single letter of the alphabet. And it's got to the point now where I can't even stand being around people anymore. Just like Dave Chappelle, I was watching Dave Chappelle comedy skit last night, and he was like, the ironic thing behind all this is LGBT. Each one of them have their own different movements, but yet they all come together and try to fight with each other. But one doesn't like the other, doesn't like the other, doesn't like the other, and all these different exceptions have to be made, and you have to like everybody, and you got to get along with everybody, and you got to do this, and you got to do that, because that's what society's come to. People cannot individually have their own beliefs and rights anymore without feeling like they're attacking somebody, because this is what the community has driven people to believe. You cannot have an indifference of opinion anymore. You cannot have a different standard of moral goal set and all this other stuff. You have to be like everybody else. And it seems like it's a lot of left-leaning, liberal, agenda-pushing stuff that's happening, and it's sickening. I wish somebody would try to mess with a 16-year-old in front of me and call it a 16-year-old consenting. I don't care what the law is or not. I'd knock the hell out of them. They wouldn't have any teeth by the time I was done. But that's disgusting. What are your guys' view on it? What's your view on this? Is it because it's legal that a grown adult, a 40-year-old man, should be able to sleep with a 16-year-old? Do you think that a grown adult should be able to take advantage of a boy or a girl at 16 years old and sexually be active with them just because the legal age of a state says that that's legal, because they're not doing anything wrong? I mean, I'd like to hear what other people have to say about this. I personally think that's fucking disgusting. I think that by you doing that, it just shows that you can't put any kind of work into getting somebody that has done something with their life, that has similar goals, mindset, is driven in a professional manner to the point where you'd want to be in a relationship sexually with somebody, rather than taking advantage of a 16-year-old that doesn't know about any of that stuff and is thinking with their Yahoo instead of their Yahoo. Let me know what you think. My rant for the morning.